University. She intends to get a degree in parallel linguistics, the study of voice inflections and word choice, and kinesics, the study of body language. Boy, you see I'm not in those programs. Her obsession with communication has grown since her childhood. She would often, unbeknownst to her friends, conduct experiments on them by phrasing things in different ways to assess their responses. Ooh, that's a good Now, still just as obsessed, she intends to consult individuals and groups on the value of good communication. Today, she has prepared tips on body language. Rachel is working on speech number 4 in the Confident Communicator book. Her objectives are to select the right words and sentence structure to communicate clearly, use rhetorical devices to emphasize ideas, and to eliminate jargon and unnecessary words while using Romrell. And please welcome Rachel.
Okay. 1960, my friends. 1960. Senator John F. Kennedy and Vice President Richard Nixon stood on either end of the television screen in the very first televised presidential debate. Senator Kennedy showed up very prepared with a bright white smile and a fresh new tan. He stood tall, he looked directly at the camera, and he answered every question that moderator had for him, impressing all of America with his confidence and his charisma. His opponent, Richard Nixon, had just been released from the hospital. His face was pale, he had a 5 o'clock shadow, and he couldn't look at the camera at all as he glanced from his notes to the mediator and right back to his notes. You may not be surprised that the opinions of those who had witnessed this event differed from those who had only heard the event on the radio and those who had both heard and watched the event on the television. Those who had only heard the debate on the radio thought that Richard Nixon had won. Those who had both heard and watched the debate found clearly that JFK was the obvious winner. What I intend to talk to you about is body language. Body language is very important. Often more important than what we hear is what feelings and impressions we receive from what we have watched. Being fluent in body language can help us recognize aggression in someone, sympathy, remorse, guilt. A simple glance can tell us when someone is lying. Due to time, I would like to discuss with you only the simple portrayal of confidence in body language. In order to do this, I'd like to start with eye contact. Like JFK, you may already know that eye contact is key. What you may not already know is that there are different forms of eye contact, each one displaying a completely different emotion. So this makes it very important how we display our eye contact. For instance, if I was going to display to you anger while using eye contact, all I would have to do is tilt my chin down and look past the brim of my eyebrows. This might look familiar if you know any 3-year-olds around here. Something like this. Right? If I was going to show you a very unimpressed teenager, it would look more like this. The only difference being the tilt of my chin and a cock of the eyebrow. So this shows you the vital importance. What makes the difference in our eye contact is the vital importance of the position of our face and the tilt of our chin. In fact, you may be interested to know that one person can only have about 20% or less of their face showing towards the person they're communicating with before this can cause a misinterpretation of emotion. On that same note, your chin only has about 25 degrees of tilt in any direction before it can cause misinterpretation. Body posture. Something very interesting about JFK in the 1960 presidential debate was that he demonstrated the most immaculate posture at the podium. Confidence is shown in body posture. I'm sure you all know that. We can show this by opening up our shoulders and elongating our neck. This demonstrates something very important. That's perfect. That's very, very perfect. One of the things we often do, even if we do stand up straight, is we cover our body with our arms or objects in front of us. This is actually something we do psychologically as a shield, kind of to protect ourselves from the scrutiny of others. When in reality, if we would just open up and demonstrate good body language or posture, we would elude that scrutiny anyway, because we'd appear more friendly, more open, more secure with ourselves. Legs and feet. Something you may not already know is very important is the position of our legs and feet when we're demonstrating good body language and confidence. There are a few mistakes that are made by both men and women in our body stance. When you're observing the body language of a man, you'll recognize often overcompensation due to trying to appear more self-confident. This is often shown in too wide of a stance. And something kind of funny going on in the hips, where they pull it too far forward or too far to the side. And you'll notice that the feet are not facing the person that they're directing it to. For instance, if I was talking to you, this wouldn't be good. But this is actually a sign of insecurity often. I wouldn't say always, there's no concrete evidence in these things. But the same insecurities can be shown in women, but they're demonstrated completely differently. For women, we often pull too much of our weight on one leg, and our first knee will tilt towards the other. This is a demonstration of insecurity again. So, the greatest way for us to demonstrate good body language in our stance is actually by positioning our feet no closer together than the width of our shoulders, without breaching the border of our shoulders. Something more like this. And you'll notice that my feet are facing, well, I'm addressing a lot of you, so I'm just going to straight this way. That's very important. Remember that too wide of a stance often shows overcompensation, while too thin of a stance shows insecurity and maybe shyness. There are so many different things that I would love to ramble off to you about in regards to body language. I can go on all day, but I will leave you with one last thought. It is so important that we demonstrate good body language. And for me, it's most important that every single person who deserves it gets the promotions that they deserve, that they have their ideas and opinions listened to, and most importantly, that their very presence is acknowledged. That is important, and all of this can be easy symptoms of demonstrating good body language. Self-assurance is shown in good body language. Therefore, confidence is as much of a practice as it is a state of being. Thank you.